What's up, guys? How's it going? Got a Wednesday link, a little earlier than usual, but obviously, some news to get into, scheduling and things like that as well. But there's always, especially this time of year, Thomas, playoffs, they're here. So much to talk about, everything to get into. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling a lot better than I think a lot of Eagle fans are. I think a lot of Eagle fans are worried about Kevin Patullo, right? They're worried that San Francisco and Brock Purdy are going to figure things out. Christian McCaffrey this, Christian McCaffrey that. Philadelphia's going to win this game on Sunday, Josh. And I think they're going to win it pretty handily. Nick Sirianni, I saw
Okay.
a great tweet yesterday. Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts have basically only been in blowouts in the postseason, right? The Ram game last year in the divisional round is basically the exception to the rule. They're either getting blown out, like against Tampa Bay Buccaneers, for example, or they're blowing people out, right? And you take away the Super Bowl in 2022 and the Ram game this past season, they kill people. And I think Philadelphia at home against what the reality comes down to is a very banged up 49er team. If this was a 49er team with Nick Bosa and Fred Warner and Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk, we'd all be like, okay, this is a serious matchup. I still lean Vic Fangio, but it's a serious matchup. This is a football team that has nobody on defense. I mean, sit back and name a 49er defender, like just off the top of your head, let alone name 3 of them, 4 of them, because all their starters are out. And then
Right.
offensively, Ricky Pearsall doesn't play. You stop Juwan Jennings and Christian McCaffrey, and Philadelphia wins. And so, can they lose on Sunday? Obviously. And we'll talk about plenty of ways that they can do that. And Kevin Patullo is right at the forefront. But I think Philadelphia wins this one. And if they, as you have told me privately many times, win the first, you think they're going all the way. And I feel very confident that that's the case as well. It's not going to be a scenario where they're 1 and then they lose the divisional round. If they get rolling, much like last season, I think that they can go all the way, at least to the NFC title game in Seattle.
I agree. Yes. And like you said, we mentioned it multiple times offline, but it does. It feels like it's either a one and done or you go all the way. Now, I feel great about you saying that you feel like it's going to be a win. And not only that, it's going to be a resounding win, or at least a pretty confident win there. So, and yes, I did see the tweet that you were referencing as well. The 5-0 in the home games, as you mentioned, the
Yep,
plus 105 point differential. We can think about all those
it's
games.
pretty
You
good.
and I have been at 2 of those games, the NFC Championship. So if the Eagles so happen to host the NFC Championship, we will be there. Hopefully that's something that we're discussing, at a later date. But it's yeah, they've taken advantage of different matchups. You do see the defense, or the lack of the defense that the Niners have, like you mentioned there. Question, I think, on everyone's mind, and understandably so. We'll probably have some more clarity today, but it most likely won't be official until tomorrow or
Yeah,
Friday, whenever the official. But Lane Johnson, right? So it's Lane Johnson. Is he going to play? Is he not going to play? November 16th, I think, somewhere around there was whenever he suffered the
a
injury.
long time.
It's been a while, and you get a lot of different takes from some people saying like, "Oh, it's a Lisfranc injury. Good luck on him coming back at all." Like this was back whenever it first happened, and they could be excruciating, especially a bigger guy like Lane Johnson. I mean, it's a smaller tendon there as it is, so what's going to happen. But then we've had for what, the last 3 weeks, Adam Schefter, a mixture of Adam Schefter, Ian Rappaport, NFL
Yep.
insiders that are in the know to go, well, Lane Johnson's going to be back. He'll be playing for the Raiders in the Raiders game. It didn't happen. He'll be playing in the Commanders game. Didn't happen. We'll be playing against the Bills. Still didn't happen. So there's just some oddities there. Now, I believe personally that it's him. If he didn't need to play, then go ahead and give him rest. But they could have
I
gone
think
ahead and
so.
just shut him down on the IR and give yourself some 4 weeks at least, and not have to figure out a roster spot. That all is just weird how they're doing it. But now you get the mixture of reports, and Brian Baldinger saying at first like, oh, he's not sure that Lane is going to play, but Adam Schefter saying he would be shocked if Lane does not play, and then Baldy coming back and tweeting earlier, I guess this morning, that Lane would be playing. Then he has since deleted that tweet, so it's all over. Like there's so many
Yeah.
takes both ways. I'm feeling like that he's probably going to play. But again, we'll see the first official practice that they have today. And is he out there? To what status? Is he limited? And even to that extent. But Lane Johnson playing is obviously, nobody needs to be told this, but is obviously a huge difference whether he does or not.
Yeah, 2:50 p.m. is when they're supposed to practice today. Right now it's 1:23, so it'll happen right after we finish our live show. I think he's going to be out there practicing. I think he'll be limited today. That would be my guess. If he doesn't practice today, excuse me, then tomorrow is your real tester. If he doesn't practice today or tomorrow at all, I mean, there's always a game time decision sort of aspect, but I think the reason why you mentioned that they didn't shut him down for 4 games, because it's happened all the way back in November, is I think he's had some setbacks, whether he re-aggravated, whether he tested it out himself and it didn't really go. What concerned me was Jeff McClain's tweet 2 days ago where he said he's yet to test it, and Wednesday will be the first test day. So he goes out there. Does he leave practice immediately if it doesn't look good? So many questions, but I think the Brian Baldinger tweet, which you quote tweeted, and he obviously deleted a little bit later on saying he's playing, that to me says he's going to play. Because Brian Baldinger and Lane Johnson, historically, they go way back. They're BFFs. They talk all the time. And Lane's just someone who fights through pain. He's somebody who's played through that torn abdomen in the playoffs, basically the entire postseason. Didn't even, blink or didn't even really miss a beat. Had surgery in the offseason. I think he's going to go ahead and give it a go. But again, let's be real here, Josh. If Lane doesn't play, it doesn't change how I feel. If Lane does play, I feel even better. But if Lane doesn't play, Fred Johnson can more than hold down the right side of the offensive line. And there's no Nick Bosa, right? If Bosa was in this game at his peak, 100% healthy, they would go at Fred Johnson every single snap. Again, name a defensive lineman on the San Francisco 49ers. They're one of the worst pressure defensive lines in the entire NFL. Their only decent game in the past month was this past Saturday versus Seattle, but Seattle's not a very good offense. It's their very good offensive line. It's their one weakness overall on that football team. So 16 total pressures versus Sam Darnold. I think Fred Johnson can hold it down, and he'll be just fine. I'm more wanting Kobe Dean back, which I think we're almost guaranteed. Vic Fangio said it yesterday. We'll see him out there today. Dean coming back to me is really some Christian McCaffrey. I hope kryptonite, just from the fact that he's much better against the run. The Campbell's been bad. Campbell better against the pass. We go back and forth on this. But I think that you're looking at a scenario where Kobe Dean can really shut down Christian McCaffrey. And as we've seen, and there are 5 losses this year, you shut down Christian McCaffrey, their offense does nothing. And there have been 5 games where he's had less than 54 yards rushing, and they've lost every single one of those games this year. I think Dean coming back is a guarantee, and that's obviously very exciting, but I think Lane's going to do it as well.
Yeah, shut him down, make him one-dimensional, which is the case with, I guess, a lot of teams. But make them one-dimensional, and it totally changes the game. So defense, it's going to be resting on the defense. If the offense can show up, it's the same story we've mentioned every single week, and they don't even need to put up 30 points necessarily. Like if they put up 24 or so, then we're okay. But I know, and I'm seeing a mixture of comments, some that are in favor on your side of like very confident, some that are like, oh, I'm still skeptical, KP, all the concerns there, which totally get for both. By the way, real quick, before we get to these super chats, appreciate you guys. Make sure to drop a like for us as well. But did need to officially go ahead and announce this, but the winners from the fantasy football leagues that we had going on. Jacob Case, congratulations. He beat me. That's a mini congratulations, but still, he got it done. I didn't put up much of a fight in the championship, only got 97 points. But Jacob, you won. Also, Daryl DeMont, I think they say that last name correctly, but Daryl DeMont with the other league won that, and both you will have already seen, should have seen by now, but your Venmo accounts have been credited with the winning. So congratulations to both of you.
There you go.
It's disappointing to not do that. First,
a lot of money.
First year, and then second place the next time. So
not bad. At least you made playoffs.
I was hopeful.
Unlike me, but
there's no participation trophy, so even second didn't get anything, right? So it's the winners take all for first place. But congratulations to those guys. And then as far as super chats here, get to these. Appreciate that. Gonzalo with a 5. If the Eagles can't beat a team as banged up as the Niners, then it obviously wasn't meant to be.
Yeah, and that's has to be the mindset going into this one. And I think that would be the consolation prize. If Philadelphia can't beat the banged-up Niners, the offense barely scores 15, 16, 17 points, whatever the number is, they're going to let Kevin Patullo go. And most Eagle fans, I'd say the vast majority, would be happy with that outcome. Now, not happy that they lost, but happy that at least because they lost and proved that they didn't really deserve to be there in the first place, and it was 2023 all over again, you get your chance at a brand new offensive coordinator and an early shot at that said position, because the problem Philadelphia is going to have if they make an NFC title game is how many of the offensive coordinators they'd be interested in are still going to be on the market, right? This is the same problem last season. One of the main reasons why they went ahead and, internally hired Kevin Patullo, because most teams are going to have their staffs pretty figured out by the Super Bowl, if not a little bit earlier. And so this whole idea, I know the super chat about Cliff Kingsbury, we'll talk about him, I'm sure. Is Cliff going to be there 3 weeks from now? Not necessarily a guarantee. Whereas I think 1 week from now, or less than a week, because it'd be Black Monday for Philadelphia if they lose on Sunday afternoon, you could then fire Kevin Patullo and insert somebody new pretty darn quickly. But again, let's hope that's not the case. Let's hope Philadelphia wins this football game, because offensively, they should be able to score points against this Niner defense, Josh. We have got to stress.
They
And I
should. I
tried to do
know.
this in my show yesterday. Two bad cornerbacks. They do not have the safeties that they once had. And their linebackers are potentially going to be two third stringers, potentially two guys who were on the street a couple of weeks ago. Eric
They
Kendricks
were.
didn't have a
Yeah.
team 4 weeks ago. And I see a bunch of Niner people on Twitter be like, yeah, but Eric Kendricks had 138 tackles last season. Why was he a free agent 4 weeks ago? They just signed Kazir White, former Eagles legend Kazir White. Why was Kazir White a free agent as of yesterday? Come
the
on,
last
if they
time
can't
he played
run
was
the
September
football,
21st
come
this
on.
season. September
Come
21st. He's been on the couch for, I mean, he's been bouncing around, but like, since September.
And if you're the Niners, right, pick your poison. And now it's different than it was in 2024, where it was like, if you don't stop Saquon Barkley, you are screwed. But I do think that their interior defense, especially at the linebacker spot, is so weak that Saquon can have a big game early on, that Jalen running, hopefully can have a big game early on.
Mm-hmm.
They then have to sell it to stop the run. And then you put those cornerbacks one-on-one against Smitty and AJ. It should be good luck. I mean, I really feel like Philadelphia should be able to win this football game. We all go, oh, well, yeah, that makes sense. The only way is if Brock Purdy goes lights out, which Brock Purdy has moments. I think it's better, one of the best Brock Purdy seasons, in recent history. I know the injury's been a problem, but the past month he's been really good. And then, of course, Christian McCaffrey going nuts. But there hasn't been a running back that's gone nuts against this Philadelphia defense basically the entire year. Like the Bear game, to me, is this microcosm. They caught us at a bad time, short week. Philadelphia was, they just played a bunch of snaps on defense. But you talk about Jahmyr Gibbs, you talk about Josh Jacobs, you talk about James Cook, that was without Nakobe Dean a couple of weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
Cream of the crop, I would consider better running backs, all three of those, at least statistically this season. I think Jacobs is probably a little bit closer, but same caliber as Christian McCaffrey, and they've shut him down. So stop Christian McCaffrey, and then Q shuts down Juwan Jennings. Does Kittle go for 200 yards and 2 touchdowns on Sink Philadelphia? I don't think so. So I don't know. Am I overly confident? Because you've been texting me. You don't sound very confident.
Yeah.
I think you're a little bit more worried.
I'm just more worried because of I don't know that it's necessarily rust factor, but like, I think the defense is going to come out and be okay. Because rest, as we've seen, and you're right to the point of like, the running game not really getting gashed too much except for the Chicago game, and then the Giants the first time, right? So Cam Scadaboo ran all over us, but both of those games are coming off a short rest. The Giants game was a Thursday game. The Bears game was a Friday game, and it was both games, the previous ones, where the defense was asked to play a lot of snaps, and then you asked them to do the same thing the following week. If the defense has rest, they're a completely different team. And I mentioned this on the live stream last night with Anthony DeBono, but I said, whenever I went to Lambeau, and again, being there in person is a little bit different, but still, like watching them in person, it was like, oh my gosh, this defense. And they got the extra rest, right? They got the week of rest for the bye week.
Yeah.
Jalen Carter got multiple weeks because he had rested the game before against the Giants, right? And then he got the bye week, and you saw him, and he was still dealing with that shoulder injury, but 2 weeks did a difference or made a difference.
Yeah.
Now he's had the shoulder procedure, which we could clearly see in the one game that he played against Buffalo
100%.
was huge. And he's also getting 2 weeks now because he didn't play last week and then this week here. So 2 weeks of rest after that point. The defense, I have no concerns about. I think they're going to come out flying around and be perfectly fine. Offensively, though, it's like we had a great showing against the Giants, had a bye week, came out and was like, what are we doing? What on earth? Like, there's no excuse for this. And yeah, we've had these same kind of similar sentiments all season with Patullo, but that's my fear, I guess, is like going into it, are they able to scheme up enough? Do they stay aggressive enough? I know that taking care of the football is a huge, huge important factor, especially in the playoffs. But whenever I look at it, and this is only, I know playmakers-wise, it's a completely different story, but Robert Saleh versus Kevin Patullo.
Yep.
Like that to me is the one thing where I'm like, I don't know. I do think that we're going to win. But the spread, covering, it's 4.5 now. Like, I just don't know where I've fallen completely yet in terms of the score prediction. But I'm not like ultra confident in saying, oh yeah, the Eagles win by 10, 14, 20 points. It could happen, but I haven't talked myself into it yet. If KP stays out of the way, then yes, I think it's a foregone conclusion because of all the things that you said there. Like, they should be able to capitalize, and if nothing else. It's interesting because you go back and look at like EPA per play, where the teams are good at, even with the Niners having the banged up linebacker play, they've actually been pretty good against the run. They got gashed against Seattle.
Yeah.
They had like 18 missed tackles. I don't think they'll have that many. They do struggle to tackle, but I don't think they'll have that many against the Eagles. But by and large, they've been kind of average at stopping the run, not a bad team. It's the pass defense where they've been terrible. And they're like bottom 5 in the NFL for pass defense. So, you see it. And again, you go back to the Seattle game, but you go back into a bunch of other ones. Indianapolis with Phillip Rivers carved them up. And that was like, not really a dominant, performance.
Yeah.
We'd seen him previously against Seattle the week before. They were able to move the ball anytime they wanted. Chicago did the same thing. So I think passing the football, yes, you have to be able to set it up with a run game, but you just have to take advantage of whether it's AJ, whether it's Smitty. You be able to do that. And then alternatively, on the defensive side, I think that it does match up well. So again, I'm confident in us winning. It's just like how far, because the Eagles allow the fewest amount of passing yards to tight ends. So the passing option of Kittle, I'm not as concerned about. They tackle so much better. We understand what happened in 2023. That was 25 missed tackles in a game. That's not going to happen. And then the passing game just does not beat the Eagles this year. Like, you look at all the games defensively, you look at all the games, barring the two that, we talked about, but that was short rest. They don't give up passing touchdowns. It's like 13 or 14 passing touchdowns this entire season. 13 if you say the full starters, because last week, whatever that was. But that's insane. Last year's defense was good. It was really good, but they gave up 22 passing touchdowns, I think. So you're like 9 passing touchdowns. How many games would that take? Even a bad performance, that'd be another 3, 4, 5 games that we're talking about. And again, that's regular season stats. So you could say, well, yeah, but what if they go on a run for the playoffs? It's just the regular season. So I don't know. Like I say, I think that we can win. It's just sometimes you got to get that first one off your back. And that's where I'm feeling like they're in the tournament. Get that momentum, get the first win, and then you know what? Who cares if it's hosting the Rams, if it's having to go to Chicago? I think that the Eagles have a great. If it's maybe the Panthers, who knows? That could be wild. But whoever it is, I think that the second game, I would certainly take the Eagles, and I'd probably feel more confident about.
Yeah, for sure.
Eagles fan with the 2, appreciate that. Lots of super chats here we'll get into. Eagles need to get Cliff for next year and fire KP.
I've seen this on Twitter a bunch, and we forget that they interviewed Cliff Kingsbury during the Kellen Moore search, right? And they did not hire Cliff Kingsbury, and they took Kellen Moore. I think Cliff is a little bit overrated, and I think this season really proved it. Now, he didn't have his quarterback for a lot of it, but even with Jaden Daniels, I just didn't see this insane offensive mind, because I think a lot of people had him in that McVay category, the Stefanski category. I think he would be an upgrade over Kevin Patullo, and I think that most people would be. I just don't think that Cliff Kingsbury comes in and revolutionizes Jalen Hurts or fixes Philadelphia's offense. Yeah, I don't know. Would I hate it? No. But as I just said, and Philadelphia doesn't lose round 1, I don't know if Cliff's going to be staying around very long. There's already talks about him going to Baltimore potentially, because they're in a massive coaching search right now, and they bring him in as their offensive coordinator for Lamar Jackson. It'd be interesting. Not the worst hire, but I don't think that I would immediately be like, oh my gosh, Cliff Kingsbury is going to be the best offensive coordinator we've ever had. Because we've seen Cliff Kingsbury at a couple of stops. And really, superhero Jaden Daniels season last year aside, has it been that great? Maybe statistically, but winning-wise, not in Arizona. So, I don't know. I'm fine with Cliff, but I don't think Cliff is like the end-all, be-all.
Yeah, I'm not either. I'm honestly like, I could see it happening because of schematically, and that part is frustrating too, but schematically how there's a lot of similarities to what the Eagles have done when they try to, basically very limited motion, hardly any plays under center, not going to have any sort of creativity.
Very little.
Right? So like in the play action game, the rollouts, like it's just non-existent, which happened this year with Patullo. A lot of that with Kellen Moore, not as much. It was better. It was a little bit more towards the average, but that's just kind of who the Eagles have been. I would just, personally, I'm out on that. I don't like the idea for a lot of the number of reasons that you mentioned there too. There's a whole lot of other options, and it's weird though, because it feels like it's like the double-edged sword of sorts, because if you lose early, and no one's rooting for the Eagles to lose early, but if you do, like you say, then there's a better opportunity to upgrade an offensive coordinator, where if you go on a long run, then you run out of your options because they're getting hired up. But you probably save some of your defensive positional coaches, because you go along, and then it's like, well, a lot of these teams are scooping up guys because they don't know. There's still too much in play. So at the end of the day, regardless of who we lose, like it's not going to be as big of a deal probably because of Vic Fangio and whoever's at the helm is the ultimate answer. But I don't know. I still go back to like offensive coordinator Todd Monken as a potential option. I think I like that idea for what he brings to it would be a big change for schematically.
Yeah.
But if you look at it and the game that we've seen start to work with Jalen, like the under center play action as we talk about, and being able to capitalize on some different things, that to me would be a much better option for offensive coordinator. But again, it always comes back to schematics and what does Sirianni either want to do? Is he not even willing to try? I don't know. So it's probably not a realistic option, but just like personal preference of what you'd want to see, I would definitely put his name out there.
And then, of course, there's the nuclear bomb that people are speculating on Twitter, that report from one of the NFL insiders who said that John Harbaugh, obviously a free agent now, probably going to be a Giant or a Falcon, it seems like. But there was that report yesterday that there's a team in the playoffs who currently has a head coach that's very interested in John Harbaugh. And people are like, oh, let's meet Nick Sirianni and the Eagles whenever Sirianni gets axed after they lose this coming Sunday. That would be very interesting. You wonder if Harbaugh would wait to at least see if he is having those discussions behind closed doors. I highly doubt that because I do think the Giants are going to make him an offer he can't refuse. He feels like a good fit for an organization that needs some stability, kind of a grown-up in that room. Daboll never really seemed to have, I don't know, he just seemed kind of like a hothead, right? He seems like one of those perennial OCs and not an actual head coach. We'll see, though. But again, I don't think Philadelphia loses on Sunday. And I think that it would take a really embarrassing loss to go and lose Nick Sirianni. And Sirianni's in a great spot, too. Just came off a Super Bowl. And I know people say, well, Doug Peterson wouldn't get rid of Press Taylor. As long as Nick Sirianni is fine with going, okay, yeah, let's just get rid of Kevin Patullo, scapegoat him, get him out of here.
Yeah.
He'll obviously stay, and then they'll insert a more veteran, and hopefully offensive coordinator, and hopefully Nick Sirianni's job will be fixed. So I don't see the Harbaugh thing, and I know we get comments about that, obviously, in the comment section, but all the time since yesterday, I've seen a bunch of them. I don't think he's going to be an Eagle. I think he's going to be a Falcon, where he's going to be a Giant. He's going to go somewhere where he thinks he can rebuild pretty quick. And both of those organizations have plenty of talent. They seem to just need kind of that lighthouse to steer the boat in the right direction.
Yeah, I agree. And, alternatively, because you had John Harbaugh not willing to get rid of Todd Monken.
Yep.
So that was kind of the reason that he was forced out, or the mutual agreeing to part ways. But, it ultimately just come down to that. Let's see, got another one for Lacey with the QB1 hasn't beaten Purdy. That NFC game was an asterisk. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I mean, sure, right? But
right.
We have to remember the only other meeting is 2023, Josh. And those football teams, I mean, that was a Super Bowl team for the 49ers, by the way. And that team had prime Deebo Samuel, prime Brandon Ayuk. They had healthy Fred Warner. And the Eagles were just ready to fall off a cliff. I mean, that was truly the fall off a cliff game. I saw a tweet, I have to talk about this on tomorrow's show. Last time they played, it was like the amount of Eagle players you name on defense. Nicholas Morrow started at linebacker and had that big missed tackle of Deebo Samuel. And you're like, gosh. Wow, the talent scale
Eli
has
Ricks
completely shifted.
By Juwan Jennings.
Very different defense than what they're going to face at Lincoln Financial Field on Sunday. So I don't really buy the whole QB1 versus Brock Purdy, because it's not really, we haven't really seen it, honestly.
Yeah. It was atrocious. I mean, if nothing else, just defensively, as we're talking about there, it's not even close to comparison. And if you want to say NFC game asterisk, injury, whatever, I guess fine. You could go ahead and throw that out there. But like, you could see pretty quickly. I mean, even just the pressure that was getting home there, it happened pretty quickly with the injury, but the Eagles came out ready to go. I think it was a completely different squad, but fine. If you wanted the rubber match, so to speak, and get this thing figured out, I guess we will on Sunday. But I'm not as worried going like, oh gosh, he's never beaten Brock Purdy, but Purdy's beaten him on that.
Yeah.
It's a totally different teams, like we say. Lacey with a 5. We need this L for 2 reasons. Man, there's a lot of pessimistic here, but it's back to back. Got to get revenge for. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Okay. They followed up with a super chat saying, correction, I meant dub. That's a big typo there.
That's a big, yeah.
Okay, because I'm like, where are we going with this? We need this dub for 2 reasons. Got to get revenge for the last time they were at the link and disrespected us starting the 2023 collapse. Okay.
There you go.
That is true. We agree with
Niner fans on social media are very different than 2023 right now. They all think they're going to get crushed. Like, every single Niner fan that I've seen post on Twitter is like, man, we're going to get smacked. There's no way we hold up against the Eagle defense. It's because the Eagle defense is elite. I mean, and that right there is why we should all rest assured that even if San Francisco opening drive goes down the field and scores, are they going to score more than 24 points on Sunday, Josh? Are they going to score more than 17? I don't think so. And if that's the case,
We'll see.
And the Eagles' offense is unable to score 18 points, then we have serious problems, way bigger than we should have not rested our starters and played Green Bay in round one, blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
They just weren't really, meant to be very, very long for these playoffs. But I just think the Eagle defense is going to be absolutely on fire on Sunday. And we've been to those games at the Linc in the postseason. Philadelphia's defense, they feed off the crowd energy. I think it's going to be nuts. I think it's going to be absolutely insane. Clear weather as well. And Philadelphia wins those games more often than not come January.
It's a good factor, good important thought there too. Yeah, with the clear weather, because how many games has it been? And I guess it was almost kind of depending on when they would have played the game. But if it was Saturday, we'd be talking about probably a pouring rain, cold, windy. It's like, man, we've had so many games that have been bad weather games, especially at home. I mean, it feels like 90% of the home games this season have been like, oh, there's 30, 40 mile per hour winds, and then probably add in a little bit of precipitation, whatever else you want to throw at it. Heck, obviously the Buffalo game was that on the road. But if it's going to be good weather, and you even go back to the Bears game, because that one was not great weather, but they don't have a great defense. And it's like, yeah, but what if that happens against the Niners? It's true. It could happen against the Niners. You could get a repeat there, but it's a couple things. One, the offense turned the football over. They didn't look good basically all the game, but certainly early on, they turned the football over, not capitalizing. Bad weather, but it still. And then the defense, though, allowed 285 rushing yards. Like 41, 42 minutes time of possession. But the fact that you can allow that and still the Eagles, it was a one-score game with like 7 minutes left in the fourth quarter. So that's why we've always said here, it's like the Eagles are never going to be out of a game. The hard part, the difficult part is as we're watching it, as we're cheering on for it, they also can't seem to put the teams away because the offense is like, yeah, we got enough. We got a little bit of a lead, and we'll just play super conservative, run, pass, punt the ball, defense get us another stop. Hopefully that's not the case because the Niners defense is not as good, and just convert a few first downs, move the sticks, and I don't know, we can all go home happy. But it's about the same spread in terms of the Packers game last year, if that makes everybody feel better. It's 4.5.
It kind of feels like that too. Maybe where Philadelphia's
4.5.
defense plays well, and then they kind of pull away at the very end, and we all are kind of still a little bit hesitant, and then they start kind of going crazy the next two rounds. I could see that happening, but I don't know. I think Philadelphia is going to drop at least 24 on Sunday. I could see a 30-point game. Maybe
that would be massive.
Maybe it's like 21-10, right? If it's a real defensive battle and Philadelphia kind of pulls away in the end, but I think that they're going to be able to score enough points for sure.
If you watch the NFL Network for their predictions, by the way, the so-called experts, the only ones that picked, and it was about 50-50 split, but the only ones who picked the Eagles were very close games, like within one score, and a lot of them 3 points, 1 point, 2 points, so a lot of close scores.
Okay.
But then the Niners picks, there were some that were close, but there were a couple that were like almost blowouts. I mean, there was one at 31-7.
I saw that
saying
one.
The Niners going to win. There was another one that was like, I think 10 points or so. I mean, anything could happen, sure. But I'm like, if it's a 31-7,
everybody's fired.
What are we doing here?
Everybody's fired.
A lot of the same experts were saying, there was somebody who said it would be Buffalo 35-7 when we went to Buffalo.
Oh, interesting.
So,
okay.
You take that with a grain of salt also. But I don't know. It's never really pretty, especially this year. It's never really pretty from the Eagles offense, but they have won games, so they take care of the ball. I think the only spot where I start getting very nervous is if we see one turnover early. But if you start to see like multiple turnovers, that'll get me a little antsy there, because then you're like, oh boy, is this going to be one of those games where you have 2-3 turnovers, because that's not been a spot where the Eagles have been good.
Yeah.
Give me with a 5. I have full faith in Jalen. He has shown up at big moments. The only bad spot on the team is KP. Go Birds.
Yeah, I think that's been a discussion this week, is like, what do you make of Jalen Hurts in the playoffs? And everybody, I think, if they rationally look at it, Jalen Hurts elevates. Jalen Hurts, absolutely fantastic in the playoffs this past season. He got better every single round. NFC title game, into the Super Bowl, he was really good. The only times where he's not been good is really on the road, right? Because they basically won every single home game that they played. But on those road games, I mean, there's all this weird stuff, right? Like you go in that Bucks game in 2023 would be their last playoff loss. No one thought they were going to win that game. You didn't have A.J. Brown, right? And he had that garbage defense overall. And then you go to 2022, played fantastic in their only loss in the Super Bowl. In 2021, they had no shot anyway. Jalen barely could throw the football in 2021. So really, what we've seen from Jalen Hurts in his 2 playoff runs with competent coaches and competent football players around him, but nothing but fantastic. It's been nothing but really, 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 really good. And I could see him totally running more on Sunday. I think that unless Kevin Patullo truly is the biggest idiot in the entire world, they save some of that to unleash this coming Sunday on, versus the 49er defense. I think you're going to see him under center, a lot of play action. They're going to take their deep shots against these cornerbacks. And don't be surprised if they come out throwing the football because of how bad the 49ers secondary, especially at cornerback, is. And I think Jalen 100% is capable of lighting up this defense and going on a run here. And we haven't even talked about the next couple of rounds, but you don't face a scary defense unless you play Seattle, which you don't touch them till the NFC title game. So, I feel
then because Sam
pretty
Darnold.
darn good. Yes, because of Sam Darnold. You take Jalen Hurts over Sam Darnold for sure. So I think Jalen's going to be just fine. I totally agree with the Super Chat. I 100% trust him.
Yep. And for people that would throw out because I've seen a couple of these comments and discuss it a little bit, but the Jalen is 0-1 against Robert Saleh in his career. Understand.
What was the one?
Sure, right? But it was the Jets game in the season that we were just craziness. But also, Jalen was not good against the blitz.
Nope.
And he's very different now. We look at the numbers and say he has been able to handle the blitz much better. He recognizes it. He's able to make some checks when he needs to and make some plays, whatever that means. If it's staying in the pocket, if it's rolling, whatever, but he's able to make some plays. So I do wonder that, yes, Saleh's had a great track record of impacting a lot of different quarterbacks, but this season, he just run out of guys. Like, you just have so many injuries, regardless of what the scheme can be. Now, does that make the room for error, margin for error, like smaller? Maybe so. Maybe it's a closer game because of that. But at the end of the day, there's so much talent. There's so much of a talent discrepancy. It would have to be the most embarrassing show, and I know we've seen this season, but the most embarrassing showing of play calling and lack of sequencing and everything else. And Sirianni has said, like, oh, I need to get involved more. I'm going to get involved more. I don't think that was what we saw against Washington. You and I talked about this as well. It kind of looked like Sirianni's, hey, you know what, Patullo, you go ahead. Go ahead, see what you can do, call plays. We'll see if it works. If it doesn't,
sure seemed like it.
Now you got to be in the state of, all right, we're going to go ahead and remind him, hey, let's run. Let's hand the ball off to Tank Bigsby. It's been the whole fourth quarter. You haven't done it yet. Let's give him the ball, right? Like, surely they can get some reminders there and just stay on schedule a little bit better.
Yeah.
Lacey with the two more. Appreciate that. Those zesty boys better stay away from Rocky. You do wonder if that's going to happen. Usually,
no, I think you want
jersey,
them,
but
you want them to put the jersey on Rocky because of the curse, right? I'd be all for them. They really got crazy in 2022 for the NFC title game. They did a lot of desecration with Niner gear. That backfired. I'd be surprised if a Niner fan actually does it. I think a lot of Eagle fans secretly do it as well. I think it happened in the 2024 playoffs. But yeah, go ahead. Mess with Rocky, or don't mess with him, but put the jersey, the hat, the scarf, whatever you want to call it.
Sure, try to test
and we'll see what happens. Yeah. Test it.
Mm-hmm. We would love it if it's official, if it's legit. Because again, whenever it's just the plant, then it doesn't really work. But Trey with a 2, love y'all. Y'all are goated. Philly is winning. Okay,
thank you very much, Trey. Thank you. Yep, they are going to win.
Lacey with 2 more. I only respect one team from San Fran, the Tanners.
I don't know who that is. The Tanners, San Francisco Tanners.
The Tanners.
Is that a?
Yeah, I don't. We
WMLS
team
or something? Let's see.
I'm not really sure. We're looking that up. Let's see. Cranky with a 5. Eagles defense will get us past the Whiners. I'm more worried about going on the road in the next round.
Let's talk about that next round, Josh, because I do think Philadelphia, either way, is going to be in a good spot, right? If they have to go to Chicago, the idea of Vic Fangio getting worked by the Bears again, to me, I don't really buy that overall. And I think Caleb Williams is very unlikely to have 3 very, very good games in a row. That's why most people aren't picking the Bears. Plus, the Bear defense is just like the Niner defense. It's awful. The two teams played each other a couple of weeks ago, and it was like first to 50 because no one could stop anybody. And so I think Philadelphia could 100% go in there and win. And then you go to the scenario where you got to play the Rams, right? Because let's just assume, I mean, the Panthers aren't coming to Philadelphia. Panthers come to Philadelphia, they're definitely going to the NFC title game.
Be
You play the
madness.
Rams again. Are the Rams going to be able to win 3 straight games on the road? I think this most recently, I mean, in the NFL postseason, since the 7th team has come in on either side, winning 3 games in a row has been virtually impossible. It's very hard to do. And we have not seen a very good Ram team or a very good Matthew Stafford the past couple of weeks. I mean, literally, the December month was an absolute nightmare for the Los Angeles Rams. They lost to the Panthers a couple of weeks ago. Could the Rams come in and win? 100%. But are the Rams going to go on the road and then go back on the road in Philadelphia in terrible weather and win? I don't think so. I'd feel way, way, way less confident than I do versus the 49ers because we should beat the 49ers. But I think Philadelphia can 100% go ahead and beat the Rams. But to me, the dream scenario is we talked about this off air is we, win, obviously. The Rams win, and then the Bears win. Philly goes to Chicago. They have that one road game. They beat Caleb Williams. You send the Rams to Seattle. They upset Seattle because Sam Darnold, a little bit, was seeing ghost in the postseason. Yep. The game that he had last year against the Rams didn't play very well. And then you get the NFC title game back in Philadelphia. And so I feel very confident about the path. I think the path going into this past week was like, I got to have the 2 seed. And while the 2 seed still would have been better, I think I now have come around from being anti-rest the starters to we just got our starters fully rested, and the path is virtually the same. At worst, you're going on the road to Chicago. I don't believe Chicago is that scary. In my opinion, I think they probably lose this weekend. But even if they win this weekend, I don't think that they're that scary. So I feel confident, like we've talked about since the beginning of this show. Win the first one, I think they're going to the NFC title game.
Yep, and I think that, like you're saying there, whether it's the Packers beating the Bears or the Bears beating the Packers, I feel like it's going to be 2 home games because, as you said there, it's either you get 2 home games back-to-back, because if the Packers win, then you're going to have another home game against the Rams or the Panthers. Or if it's the Bears, then fine, you go on the road. But I think that we could beat the Bears and then in the rematch, and then you're getting another one. So we'll certainly take that. By the way, the Tanners, Full House reference. I'm going to get to several of those other super chats, but Full House. So
yes.
I will just say this, and I know people are like, oh, they don't understand. I do know Full House, the show. Never watched it though, by the way. I know what the show is. I've seen. I can picture the characters and everything else. We actually never watched it. Watched some others and some other classics, but no, I would not have known the Tanner's reference. I do know Full House, the show, but never watched it. Let's see. We got Bobby here. Bobby the 2. Tank, 1-2 punch.
If they don't run Tank Bigsby, I said this for like 2 months, but if they don't run Tank Bigsby on Sunday in the playoffs against this defense more than 5 times, we literally riot. Like, I think that we literally go insane. That would be enough for me to fire Kevin Patullo, even if Philly barely loses and the offense scores a bunch of points. It would be unbelievable if they don't run Tank Bigsby. They should run Tank Bigsby at least twice every single quarter, and that is not taking away from Saquon Barkley, but his yards per rush, his yards before contact, his yards after contact, he's been incredible, and he was balling last week until Kevin Patullo said, yeah, 4th quarter, no, let's not run Tank Bigsby once, which is classic Kevin Patullo.
We see it all the time. It's ridiculous, but yeah, they absolutely have to get him involved. Lacey the 5 more. QB1 turns Super Saiyan? Super Saiyan?
Yeah, that's a
for the
what
playoffs?
Is it Goku? Is that who that is? I don't watch any of that thing.
Yeah,
I think it might be. Sorry.
These are a lot of good references here that not really going to work. The regular season conservative play is to be healthy to run and gun in the playoffs. How do the fans not see it? I think a decent amount do.
Yeah.
It's just there's like a fine line. The Eagles offense was like what, average, right? Entering the playoffs, about average, and it was kind of like, man, what are we doing? Last year, it's like, what are we doing? We're average offense. Like, you got all these weapons, new offensive coordinator. It's been okay at times. It can be really good, but it's a lot of the running game. Is that going to be sustainable? And then they turned it up in the playoffs. Now they went against some of these tendencies, so they had some tendencies breakers, but this is a different season. We're not talking about like, hey, the Eagles offense has been average this season. Now we need to get a little bit better. The Eagles offense has been pretty bad. I mean, definitely below average. So now we're asking, can they turn it up and just be average? And it's possible if they go for some tendency breakers. But, again, we're relying on a Kevin Patullo to right the ship or about face or anything like that. So Aisha with a 10 bomb. Appreciate that. No matter the result of Sunday's game, the fact is we're in the Eagles' golden era, and I love it. But not winning a Super Bowl this year would be wasted opportunity just because of the talent on our team. Go Birds.
Yeah, I think so. And there always comes a time for the golden age to go ahead and end. And really, the golden age in Philadelphia started in 2017, and they obviously had a couple of rocky years. But no one's going to go to what the Chiefs did, right? Philly's not going to go to 5 straight NFC title games. I mean, they obviously went to a bunch in the early 2000s, but what the Chiefs did is very much the exception, not the rule. What Philadelphia has done with 2 Super Bowls since 2017 is more of like a true NFL reachable golden age where they go back and then they have a little bit of a struggle and then they go back in 2022 and then they win it in 2024. But if they lose this year, it is going to feel like a massive disappointment because the roster is basically the same as last year. And you can argue the defense is much better. I mean, I think right now you'd take this year's defense over last year's defense. And last year's defense was incredible. But year 2, Coop, Q, and Jelix Hunt, and what we get in Jordan Davis, it to me is night and day better. And I know they obviously had some good players on that defense. Milton Williams was fantastic. We really like Josh Sweat, but I think I'd take this iteration. Plus, Brandon Graham. I think Brandon Graham's going to play a factor on Sunday, Josh. I think that he's kind of like the Tank Bigsby of the defense, except Vic Fangio is way smarter than Kevin Patullo, and he actually uses him. Not a ton. 7 snaps here, 10 snaps here, but they are effective snaps, and they work. I mean, literally, he gets to the quarterback. I think he could play a factor on Sunday as well, just getting a couple of those clutch sacks, putting the game away, a strip sack, who knows what it is. But I do agree with the Super Chat in that if Philadelphia is one and done this season, it's going to be considered a massive failure, and you do have to wonder, are they really going to be able to get back to it next year? I hope so. You would think so with Howie Roseman. Contracts be interesting. A.J. Brown, what happens there? Offensive coordinator, there'll be plenty of questions on Monday that we, dive headfirst into on our channels because that's what we do. Off-season's even crazier than the regular season sometimes. And if they lose the first round, that is definitely going to be the case. Yes.
Yeah, that definitely is. And it's difficult to win in the NFL regardless. So, they have all the pieces, but I'm with you. It's like, man, you got to capitalize on what they have now. Even with some of the discrepancies in offense, you look at the teams that you're going up against, they should be able to get the job done. But I'm seeing this from people in the chat, but also officially the Eagles have opened the practice window for Azeez Ojulari. So
I just saw that. I forgot about Azeez Ojulari. That is pretty crazy.
How much he will play and to what extent, but you at least have a little bit more depth there. So we'll see how that shakes out on the roster side. But Kevin with a 5, appreciate that. I bet the Eagles win ugly all the way to the Super Bowl. Love the show, guys. Keep doing what you do.
I guess you would take it. It would be bad on our, blood pressure and our hearts, but I think we would take that all the way to the Super Bowl.
Sure.
If they're going to go to the Super Bowl, they're going to blow somebody out. And I think it'd be this weekend because the Rams or, the Bears or the Seattle Seahawks, hard to believe Philadelphia blows any of those teams out, although I think you could blow out Chicago, honestly. But maybe they just win ugly and they get all the way, and then they play the Jaguars or the Broncos or the Texans, and it's another defensive battle, and it's ugly in the Super Bowl, and they raise another Lombardi trophy, which we would take them winning 13-10 for 4 straight weeks if they raise another Lombardi trophy, no matter how bad it looks.
Yeah, yep. It's been a very select few, not very many, but there have been a couple teams that have been totally carried by their defense, and they've won it because of that. So it's been a little while, and I think that the offense eventually has to show up. Hopefully it's this one here. The Niners not good defensively, and you'll be able to take advantage. But Advocate in NYC with a 5. 49ers, let's see. 49ers ain't bad defending the run. I fully expect pass-heavy Eagles attacked on Sunday. Can we Black Monday Paterno today?
I think that they're not great against the run. 100 yards rushing the past, 4 out of 5 games? 2 of those were the Titans went for like 140. The Browns went for 170, 180, something like that. The past 5 weeks, they've given up a lot of yards on the ground. And then Seattle, it was $180, right? It was an absolute drubbing on the ground. And that was the Seattle football team that couldn't throw the football against the 49ers secondary. They did not move the ball very well through the air, even with JSN and obviously Sam Darnold. So I think Philadelphia will have 100 yards on the ground. The question is, are they going to have 200 yards on the ground, right? Because they're going to get to 100 no matter what happens in the outcome of this game. I feel confident they could lose and get to 100 yards rushing because they should be able to run the football. But if they get to 150, they're guaranteed to win. 200, it's a blowout. Anything over 200, and it's probably 31-7.
Yeah, and I agree with you. They're going to for sure get to 100. I would be shocked if they don't. But it's like, do they revert back to it? You do look at the analytics. Recently, they've been that way, but even a change since that time? Are they looking at the Eagles as well and going like, oh no, we're not at all by all means necessary, we're not going to get run on? Are they going to just try to just sell out completely to do that? Because if they are, then fine. You know what? Let's make sure that we're passing. The hope is that we make the right adjustments, regardless of what the scripted plays are, because sometimes those are good for the first series or two. It's after that where we're just going like, what are we doing? Like, it worked. We figured out what worked well to begin with, and then as soon as it comes to reacting what the defense is presenting, it gets super basic and boring and predictable. Maybe it changes, but there should be opportunities, whether it is running or passing. There should be opportunities against the Niners. So we will see, which obviously we'll be streaming for. So, guys come hang out and
we'll be there.
Cheer on the Eagles as we're trying to, I don't know, live through. I would love not a stressful, go all the way down to the wire, but it's been that way all season and feels like it will be for the playoff game here. 48 with a 5. Hire offensive coordinator now so we can get a good one. What's the worst that can happen? KP's in his feelings and calls terrible plays. Oh, wait, he already does that.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, they won't do that. And again, every round that they advance is the less likelihood that they go ahead and fire Kevin Patullo. If they make it the NFC title game, Kevin Patullo is probably coming back. I think that it would truly take a first-round exit or a second, third, or Super Bowl exit where the offense is like anemic. Like if they laid an egg in the NFC title game with the Super Bowl, then maybe we get our wish. But I think Kevin Patullo's really only shot at actually getting booted is a blowout or they lose round one no matter what. And I don't agree with that because I would let him go no matter what happens in the playoffs. But they're run out of time, and running out of time is a problem because then what are you going to do? Scott Loeffler? I mean, he's already on the roster unless they just, muzzle him in every single meeting and he doesn't get to say anything to go ahead and make advice or, give an opinion on what he thinks. Is it going to be Scott Loeffler? I don't know.
I don't think so. It's interesting because I think that if it would for sure happen if you don't make it past the first round here, the wild card. And I think that you would let him go as well if they don't make it past the divisional round. Like I think they at least have to, in my opinion, I think they at least have to get to the title game. And there's still a possibility. It's just at that point, title game and beyond, it's to me a matter of how it looks. If you've relied so heavily on your defense to even just get to the title game, and then you also lose that, it'd be like it's inexcusable. If the offense has shown signs of life, and you're like, hey, we got there, and then even in the title games, like, hey, the offense actually played really good. The defense, for some reason, had an off game, and that cost you, maybe. But there's just so much history beforehand, right? There's so much of a resume been built up before that's like, unless it's like I say, unless it's NFC title game or maybe even making the Super Bowl, I don't think that there's enough for what KP could do, and like you say, the only thing I guess that helps him is, they go so far that, all the candidates have been snatched up, and then you're like, well, what do we go with, right? Because there's hardly anybody else off the street. Is that really going to be a good option? But I don't know. It's hopefully that's the problem that the Eagles have, right? It'd be the best case scenario for all of us, even though it'd be frustrating. It'd be like, well, we're stuck with KP again. Oh, but we got a second Super Bowl. All right, well, we'll all live with that. We'll put up with that. We'll all live with that. If it's KP. Curious with a 5. I'm scared we're going to go up 14 plus at the half, and then KP's going to start running just to run.
They better not. That was a really, really bad comment. Whether he truly meant it or it's just classic KP jargon in press conferences. Yeah. Sometimes we run it just to run it. It's just like infuriating and is a microcosm of the Kevin Patullo experience because that's what it feels like. Sometimes they throw it just to throw it and they run it just to run it. Yep. And when you watch other good play callers and schemers in the NFL, every single play has a purpose. Every run to the right has a play action pass to the left. Every single deep crosser has its slugger or slant and go. Like everything has a purpose. And doesn't feel that way with Kevin Patullo. It really feels like he has a good script and then he gets off script and it's like, what if we ran it 3 straight times? Ooh, they won't see that coming. Bang, bang, bang. What if we throw it 3 straight times? Ooh, they won't see that coming. And then go, we probably should run this. Yeah, I think we should pass. It's just, I don't know. It's no rhyme or reason. And for as confident as I am in Philadelphia winning on Sunday, I think that they do, and they do by at least 10 points. There's definitely a scenario where they come out and they lay an egg and they get jumped on real quick. A deep ball somehow gets over the head of a Dory Jackson. They're down 7-0. Philadelphia has a quick fumble. They score again in the red zone. It's 14-0. Down 14 with Kevin Patullo. We're all going to be sweating and thinking that this is probably going to be the end.
Yeah. But if, and like they say, get up 14 and then all of a sudden it's It's interesting because I think we said this a couple weeks ago. It's like the most dangerous thing for this Eagles offense is to actually get up by double digits. Because as soon as they get up by double digits, it's like, oh, shut everything down. I mean, we're going to go the most basic prevent offense that we can, right? It's inside zone, and both those will get 1 yard or maybe a negative.
Yeah.
And then it's, hey, you're looking at a 3rd and 9. All right, let's throw the ball. Let's run hitches 2 yards short of the sticks and throw it. If it's completed, we'll still be short. If it's not completed, obviously we're 4th and 9, so we're going to be punting the ball. Like, it just seems to be rinse and repeat that. If they get up by double digits, it's the most predictable thing ever. But on the flip side, and I don't know how this plays a factor necessarily if we end up seeing it, but it'll be scary here. The 49ers, Kyle Shanahan is what, like 0-39 when his team is down by double digits in the second half?
Yep.
That seems the most improbable, ridiculous stat too. How you can't, one game in the second half, you can't be down double digits and come back to. So it's weird. You're like, yeah, it's dangerous because this Eagles offense allows a team to come back. But then on the flip side of that, the 49ers have no track record under Shanahan when they get down by that amount. So it'll be interesting. Maybe it's in a lot of ways it's good on good and bad on bad. But that instance there would be bad on bad. And I guess we'll see. We trust the Eagles defense, but you got to move the sticks at least a little bit to give them a break. Gonzalo with a 5. Yes, pretty sure the Tanners was Full House reference. Also, surely anything short of a Super Bowl championship results in KP getting fired, right?
Yeah, we're getting dragged for Full House and for I think was it Dragon Ball Z? Is that what it was? Yeah, it was a Dragon Ball reference.
Yeah, I saw some of those others. Yeah,
I didn't watch any of that growing up.
Nope.
My family did watch Full House. I know what we're talking about in Full House, but
sure,
that when the comment mentioned we're talking about some sort of sports team in San Francisco instead of like the fictional, sitcom of Full House. But
right,
either way,
I know of both shows. Didn't watch either of them. So
yeah,
for those comments, but yeah, like we said for KP, anything short of Super Bowl, it feels that way. Depending on how it looks, if they're averaging 30 points and the defense just completely, laid an egg, then maybe it's different. But Bogdan with a 20 bomb, dude, appreciate that.
Whoa.
A 20 bomb here. We have to remind the league that Hurts is a dual threat. He's going to have to take off running. Gloves are off. Bird gang, let's go. Great job, boys.
I don't fully remember what it was like going into the playoffs, although we do forget that Jalen gets injured on a running play a couple of weeks before, and then he basically sits the rest of the way. And then he ran like crazy in that second game. Obviously, they opened up with that big touchdown run from Jalen Hurts in the Rams game.
Yes.
I'm trying to remember how much he ran. I wonder what the stats are in that playoff game versus the Packers. I feel like he did run a lot, though. I feel like we 100% could see like a different gear where they just open it up and he goes like crazy. But I can't remember what he did in that Packer game. I got to pull up his stats here real quick. He only had 36 yards rushing in that one, but then he has 72 in the Super Bowl and 70 versus the Rams. He had 16 in the NFC title game, but that game was over pretty quick.
Yeah,
so I think that you are going to see a lot more design runs. I think it's going to make a lot of sense.
Does it say how many carries he had in the Packers
in the
game?
Packer game? 6.
Okay.
Which still would feel like a decent amount because, there have been games where he's had less than 6 this season. You're like, please just run it. And definitely less than 6 design quarterback runs because a lot of his runs, I think the Viking game, he's just running for, after what is a pass play that he then scrambles out of. So, we'll see.
Yeah, it's interesting. And I don't know. I have to go back and watch the game and everything too. I'm just thinking like kneel downs as well count as the carry. So was it like 3?
Sure.
Was it 3 runs, 4 runs?
Maybe.
But that was the first game back off of the concussion. So it would maybe make some more sense too of like, okay, let's not go overboard here. Let's make sure we're not taking shots. And they didn't need it necessarily. Sure, they could have opened it up more, but they did call plays very conservative against the Packers. It's like, okay, hey, fumble, score real quickly, and then we're sitting there second quarter, even all the way to late third quarter, and saying like, what are we doing here? Like, this game is here for the taking. Jordan Love's throwing you 3 interceptions. They're not able to move the football. You could be blowing them out 30-3 right now, 30-6, and they're just not doing anything. And starts to get a little closer. They ended up being fine, but yeah, I just wonder if maybe they were extra conservative. MG Raps with a 10. Appreciate that. I personally have mixed feelings about this, but if we win, of course, I'm going to be super happy. But at the same time, if we lose the game, then we have a better chance to hire an actual OC. Go Birds.
Yeah, and we talked about this, but I'll just quickly say we need to hope they don't have to fire Kevin Patullo. I mean, truly, if you care about this season, we need to hope that they don't fire Kevin Patullo because that means that they're going far. And this team should be able to go far even with Kevin Patullo. But again, I get that there is a bright spot to everything, which would be firing Kevin Patullo if they were to lose in the first round.
Yes. Advocate with a 5. Oh, my bad. There was a typo, so I wasn't sure if it was the R.
Another typo.
Ain't bad, but they are coming
They
back
are
to
bad against
clarify.
the
So,
run.
guys, they are
Okay.
bad against the run, which is why
I thought so.
Paterno will pass. Okay, all right. I was
There
going
you
to say,
go.
just
There you go.
struggling with the comments there, but that does make sense.
Sorry.
Solid, I think. Solid with the 10. I definitely think we can get away with resting Lane another week. I see a tough fight against San Francisco. Eagles win 24-16. This will be a huge game for Saquon and Tank, running for over 150 yards combined. Go Birds.
I hope you're right on all of that, and they can. They definitely could wrestle in it if it was the case. But we're kind of at a point here, Josh, where it's like, does he really just need 6 more days? Is 6 days going to be the difference? Maybe. I'm not a Liz Frank expert, but it feels like he's had enough time where it's either going to be full go or no go this week. And I think it's going to be full go. I think today we'll see him at practice. They're going to practice in about 45 minutes and follow us on Twitter. I'm sure we'll retweet. Josh has a show coming out later today. I got one tomorrow. We'll full updates.
Yes, that we will. Keep you guys posted. But my brother, I shared this on the live stream I think last night. He's an orthopedic surgeon. He's not close to the team or anything like that, but he does see athletes. And so he did text back in November, like as soon as the injury happened. And he was like, bro, he's like, Lane's done for the season. He's like, list for his injury. He's like, he won't come back. And I was like, really?
Wow.
You don't think he is? So he was like, no, I'm just telling you, like, as big as he is and the way list ranks are and as touchy, like just really tender that they can end up being, he's like, I would be shocked if he ends up coming back. Now, Lane Johnson is a whole other beast. So, it's a different story there. But the initial reaction, and I saw a lot of other doctors on Twitter that were kind of like, I don't know, list rank injury, that could be suspect. We'll see. But maybe they shoot him up, and he's good to go. The question might even be more so like if he plays this week, how does he come off of it? If they win, does he have any setbacks? Can he play through? If there's pain on it, is he able to? Because we saw Nakobe Dean have the injury, come back and kind of re-aggravate it, and then he was basically done for the year. I think that was 2023 whenever he suffered it. So I don't know, but I think I'm with you there too. A week for this type of injury is not really a huge difference maker. It's either you're going to try to test it out and go, which he's going to try at practice, or they say, but maybe he's not able to for some reason. Pirate Mike with a 2, appreciate that. If we repeat, is it bad if KP is back? ? Consistency ?
Yeah, that would be the argument. If they repeat, you can't fire him. Obviously, I mean, you technically could, but they won't. And then maybe Jalen finally gets his back-to-back same offensive coordinator in 2 straight years. Maybe that fixes everything. But we're a long way from that, guys. I mean, we're what, a month out from the Super Bowl. We got a lot of football to go before we're having that discussion that Kevin Patullo is coming back because they won a Super Bowl.
Yeah, 100%. C for the 2, appreciate that. Didn't see the comment. We appreciate the support. Patriots are chokers with a 2. We'll see if they are. Darnold folds like a towel upon seeing our defense. It's playoff Darnold. Just wait. He'll give it to you.
I could see the Seattle losing in their first game. I could see a total Lions repeat
absolutely.
from last year. If it's the Rams, for sure.
Yep, 100%. The one that would shock people, though, and it's not impossible, but the one that would shock people, though, is if the Packers beat the Bears. The Packers go to Seattle.
That would not happen.
Whoa, the Packers
I don't think the
beat
Packers
Seattle?
beat Seattle.
I don't think so either, but there's still a world where I could envision Darnold throwing 4 interceptions and the Packers winning 13-7. And the Packers are familiar with him because they played Darnold in their division last year when he was with the Vikings. But yeah, that'd probably be a little too much. Game time with the 10. We're winning the Super Bowl. Niners, Rams are the best opponents, AFC included, and we're winning this weekend. Best staff move is Sirianni, strong arms, play calling, BTS, and publicly mutually part ways with KP after the Super Bowl.
It is pretty funny that we're at a point where we're like, Sirianni's going to save us. We're 4 years, the past 4 years, it's like Sirianni is the secret problem, and yet he says he takes over play calling, and the play calling, he takes over, and he didn't say he took over play calling. He said that he's going to, have more of a say or more influence or help out more, and it looked better. So it's funny that we're full circle. We all think that Nick Sirianni is the answer because Kevin Patullo has been so bad.
Yeah, it would be interesting who saves the day there. Samuel with the 5, patience. Okay, I don't know exactly which part that is.
We all need it.
To, but
we all need some
probably
patience.
Just where the Eagles are right now. That's fine. I'm feeling the nerves and anxiety. It's like excitement, but it's also just the nerves in general. John with a 5. What if KP gets a head coaching position? That could be a scenario we get rid of him.
What if I win the lottery, right? I mean, we're talking
if?
about things that are not going to happen. So, sorry.
Eagles win the
Move
Super
on.
Bowl, the whole league changes their stance on KP, and somebody who got burned at the last minute is like, man, we couldn't get John Harbaugh, we couldn't get Stefanski, we couldn't get Dable, we couldn't get Cliff, but we got KP, we got Kevin Patullo here. We'll say, more power to you. You can have him. I said it earlier. I was like, man, if somebody wanted to have KP, the Eagles might even say, we'll pay his first-year salary. Take him.
Arizona,
take him.
Take him.
If you want him. IBH with a 10. I think the last one here before we wrap up. If we look at the bright side, the Eagles had 4th most difficult strength of schedule. 49ers had literally the easiest, 32nd overall. 4 of their 6 straight wins were against bottom 10 defenses in the league. And those are true arguments.
I was looking at the Niners schedule yesterday. I pulled it up here. So obviously, this is what they have recently. Lost to Seattle. Then they beat Chicago, Indy, which, I mean, Indy was in the midst of their 8-game losing streak. Tennessee, Cleveland, Carolina, and Arizona. And some of their, I mean, the best teams that they beat were Seattle week 1. They lost to Jacksonville. They beat LA week 5 in overtime.
Which was,
and
kudos to them to beating LA, but that was also one of the most ridiculous endings to possibly be. It was like a missed field goal and also punching the ball out of Kyron Williams as he's about to go in and win the game for the Rams. There's, again, nothing is impossible. Nothing like you hear some of the teams that they beat, but it feels like what it would take is something of those types of fluky scenarios almost. It would be turnovers, ridiculous, terrible mistakes, and the defense also not playing up to the level that we know they're capable of for the Eagles, that is. So we will see. I don't think we're ready yet for official score predictions, but
no.
We'll see. Keep an eye on that for videos and everything else. We'll share that. Bowdy, I believe, with a 5. Last one here at the buzzer before we wrap. Patullo isn't an offensive genius, mediocre at best. That's obvious. We understand that. Says it's long past time that showed to rise above average. We need next level play calling. But I mean,
could be
from Patullo. I don't know if we're gonna get it from Patullo because we
probably not from Patullo. I think he means from somebody else. But yes,
yeah. Well, it'll be probably next year. I mean, we're stuck with what he's doing. As long as he doesn't get in the way too much of Jalen and the rest of the offensive playmakers, we have the guys that can carry enough, be just an average offense, which is ridiculous. And you know what? I'll say this, even as bad as the offensive play calling has been, if the offensive line magically plays up to just a better standard than we've seen, it'll look better. The play calling can still be just as garbage, and it'll look better because you have the offensive line. It's not what it was last year, and that's been a huge factor on top of the terrible play calling. So we'll see. Maybe they kind of get right of sorts against the Niners. I dare say that after the season that we've had. But they could still get the dub, take control, everything in front of them. The NFC path, you at least like it. But keep you guys posted. Everything else as far as Lane, his status, every other injury updates, also the Niners videos to come for the rest of the week. So appreciate it for Thomas. We will see you guys again streaming on Sunday. So make sure to check that out as well. And we're that much closer. First round of the playoffs.
Couple more days.
Let's do it. We'll see you guys. Go Birds.
Go Birds.